Hi there, this is Josh Friberg with The Abundant Agent, and today we're going to be talking about those 3 keys to abundance in the life of an agent. Hey, as you know, I speak with real estate and insurance agents about how they can have more productivity in their work, be more present at home, and be purposeful in their community. If you're into that sort of thing, take a second to subscribe, like, or share this video with someone else. Today, I want to take a little bit deeper dive into those 3 key areas: work, home, and community, and show you some of the key markers that abundant agents have found that causes them to really succeed in each of those 3 areas. So let's take a second and look at those, and look at the way that we think of when we think of how someone is successful in those areas. Well, it starts by understanding those key spheres in our lives, right? That we have a work sphere, right? We're going to write this in. This is work. Here we have a home sphere, right? The home part of our life, and this isn't just, of course, your house, right? This is going to include things like your personal sense of growth, your personal sense of well-being, but also it includes the people that you love, the people that you live with, right? And then it's going to include this sphere that we call community. All right, and community can mean a lot of things, right? That can be your geographic community, maybe the town you live in, the neighborhood that you live in, something like that. But it also, could be like a civic organization that you're a part of. It could be a church that you're a part of. It can even be an online community, maybe, if you truly have that sense of purpose. Well, like I said, there's 3 ways that we look at each of these 3 to consider what's the most important thing that we do in that space. And for our work, it really is about being productive, right? It's really, our work is about producing something, producing value for others. For agents, this is going to look like serving our clients, our customers, and selling them either the houses for real estate agents, or for insurance agents, the insurance and financial services products that we sell to them to help them achieve their goals in their life. And we want to learn how to be more productive in that space. Over the next few weeks and months, we're gonna look at some of the secrets to being more productive in those areas. But I want to give you a few right now. One of them really is learning what matters most. What matters most, and then doing it. What matters most, and then doing it. And what's going to come out of that really is a couple different things. One is, what is your niche, right? Like, who do you serve? Who's the audience that you work with? What's the product that's your niche? It also goes into what's maybe the niche of your methodology, the niche of either how you prospect or market for new business, how you educate consumers. All of those things really dive into your niche. Well, once you've identified your niche, it's important that you figure out what matters most in it and then do it. Because what happens to so many agents is they kind of half-heartedly decide on a niche, but then maybe drift into some things that don't matter as much. They hear about, an agent in Nebraska who succeeded by doing TikTok or something like that. And so they decide to do TikTok, but it's not really something that they make a deep dive on. And so when we talk about niche, we're really talking about going deep into our niche, right? The other thing about doing what matters most is really a couple things that allow you to more consistently do what matters most. And one of those is your environment, right? Your environment. The people, the physical space, and how you function in time within your work environment that causes you to more consistently be productive, right? That's one of them. The other one that I think is really important that's related to it is habits. Is having those consistent productivity habits that allow you to, like I say, more consistently get to productivity. Well, if that's work, how do we succeed at home? How do we really have that sense of fullness, that sense of life, that sense of purpose at home? Well, I really think the key word for this, and you've heard me say this before, is really being present. It's being present to ourselves, right? Like being self-aware of our growth, how we grow, what distracts us, what is actually maybe pulling us down a little bit. Boy, I'll tell you, my experience of this really has been, technology, social media, YouTube, right? I say on this YouTube video, but I realized that when I'm not careful in those, they become a negative for my personal life, for my home life. They keep me away from the people that I care about the most, and they keep me from really becoming really the most, if I could say it this way, the most Josh that I can become, right? The most full version of myself that I can become. Well, how are we going to be present? You're going to learn about a couple different secrets that I found in this area. One of them that I just love is that morning routine, right? And if you know my work on morning routines, you know that I really am a believer in shaking up your morning routine a lot, constantly be tweaking, hacking, and playing with your morning routine to try and find the best one that works for you. And maybe it's just the one that works for you this month or this quarter. It doesn't have to be something you have to commit to for your entire life, but it's a way of making sure that you are full so that you can be fully present to other people around you, and so that the best you is the one that's showing up at work. You see, each of these three areas, they interact with each other, right? When we are our best selves, then the best us shows up at work. But also our work, of course, provides a lot. It provides an area for us to grow so that we become a better person when we come home. It also, of course, provides just the money to run a household. And so having a morning routine that causes us to be the best version of ourselves can really feed into our work really well. The other thing that I've seen is really to learn to soak. And what soaking is, we've got new information coming into us all the time, but how often do we actually stop and take and reflect on it? How often do we really reflect on it and allow it to soak into our being and become what we are, right? So that, so often we maybe hear something and go, oh, that was really interesting. We take notes, we write down something. Maybe you did while I've been doing this video. You wrote something down that you thought, oh, that's really interesting. But if we don't soak on it, well, then it doesn't actually get down into our whole self, get into our minds, get into our souls in such a way that it can now come out of us. Right? And maybe you learned this. I learned this in college, right? What Aristotle said, which is the unexamined life is not worth living. Well, soaking is part of that process. It's examining our lives. And probably, of course, you can guess that at this, but one of the most important things here is to really love well, is to love and be loved at home. And home is really the first place where we get to practice love, where we get to exercise love. And of course, love is choosing what's best for the other person. So this is one of the ways that these are a few of the ways that we'll talk about on how you can really be present at home. Well, the last thing I want to talk about is community. And when we talk about community, we're really talking about being purposeful, right? Purposeful. And when we talk about purpose in community, you think of any community that you're a part of. The reason that you are part of that community and you are aligned is because your purposes are aligned. It's because your purposes are aligned. I'm part of and a member of, literal card-carrying member of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, right? And this is an organization that cares about conservation and about public lands and about hunting and fishing. Well, if I were really into bowling, I wouldn't be part of that organization. No, I'm into it because I care about conservation, I care about earth care, I care about hunting and fishing and public lands. So it makes sense for me to be part of that organization. It's part of my community because we have aligned purposes. Well, the same thing is going to be true for you, for your church, for your neighborhood, for your town, for a civic organization that you're a part of. Heck, for, a hobby group that you're a part of. But it's really about being purposeful with that group, making sure that you're aligned with their purpose, they're aligned with your purpose, and that you show up purposefully in a way that you give and receive within the community. Well, we're going to talk about how we can do this, and we're going to talk about how this also plays into our businesses. When we set up businesses that serve the things that we care about, right, we actually can, in a really healthy and positive way, we can actually earn business from and within these communities, right, in a really great way that both gives and receives. And of course, when the communities that we're a part of align with who we are and who our families are, well, then we're going to be able to really give generously within those communities, and we're going to be filled by connecting with and relating to the people in those communities. And so these three areas of work, home, and community, when you're being productive, present, and purposeful, are really going to fill you up. Well, how do we get to that purposefulness? We're going to first, we're going to look to align with the right organization, right? We're going to align with something that matches our values and that's doing good work. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to allocate our time, right? We're going to actually think through, how much time do I want to spend with these people? How much money do I want to invest? And make sure that we aren't just agreeing to sign up for something and then we never show up. We're actually going to allocate the time for it. And then we're going to advocate. And to advocate, we're going to use our talents, our skills, our influence to advocate for those causes. When these three areas come together of work, home, and purpose, this is what we call abundance, right? This is what we call abundance. And so when we talk about abundant agents, we're not talking about just people who are making a pile of money. We're not talking about people who are going on a bunch of vacations, right? We're really talking about people who are having fullness of life at work, fullness of life at home, and fullness of life at community. And this is what leads to abundance. Abundance is when we have more than enough for everybody. Now, surrounding all of this, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, is the accountability cycle. And I showed you this for a brief second earlier, but let me show you again. The accountability cycle is one of getting into action, then being accountable to actually doing that action, and most importantly, what gets missed so much, like in coaching, what gets missed so much in our action plans, is assessing the effectiveness of the action. What worked, what didn't work, what do we want to keep, what do we want to get rid of? When you are doing this well, when you are truly living this accountability cycle within those three areas of home, work, and community, this is where we find abundance. It's where we find meaning. It's where we find fulfillment. It's where we say, I know I'm succeeding there. I know I have areas to grow here. And I know that there's new things that I can do. And comes from a place of abundance rather than a place of scarcity. It comes from a place of generosity and not a place of fear. And that's what we talk about when we talk about the abundant agent. I would encourage you to look and evaluate, how are you doing in terms of your productivity at work? What's your presence at home feel like? And where maybe are you being proactive in community? Hey, if I can help you out at all, please take a second to put something in the comments or reach out to me. I'd love to see how I can help you with your business and how you can have greater abundance in these areas of being productive at work, present at home, and purposeful in community.